everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm super happy that you're here today. Today we are over on my new island of Kohaku, which is going to be a Studio Ghibli / Japanese themed island, and I don't have any reactions yet on this island, so I couldn't really do anything proper to say hello to you all today. But today we are working on this Totoro forest, and I was really inspired by this photo that I saw on Pinterest, which is actually just a screen grab from the movie, but I loved all of these like lush trees in the background, and it looks like they're just like so tall, which if you've seen the movie before, you know what part that is kind of nodding to, but we can only make things so tall in Animal Crossing, so I wanted to kind of try to make this as tall and sort of like looming as I possibly could, given that we can only make it just a few different cliff levels high. But right now I'm just going to start building up this kind of U-shaped area. I do want the sleeping Totoro to be in the kind of center of this little U shape that I'm making, and I want there to be like a very skinny path leading back to resident services. This is going to kind of butt up to the side of the river mouth, so this kind of area is going to be sort of a standalone build, and then you'll have to double back and go through the skinny little, pathway here to get to the rest of the island. It's also right next to the entrance, so I've been trying to plan out, I guess, how I want this island to go, and I guess I'm thinking that I'll do some of the more natural builds towards the front of the island, and then towards the back of the island I have like the boathouse from Spirited Away I'd like to do. I'd also like to do that like building from Howl's Moving Castle, his actual castle, the moving castle, I couldn't remember what it was called for a second, but I want to do some more like Japanese city like areas towards the back of the island, as well as like some rice fields and things like that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for right now, but right now I'm spending some time planting the trees along the cliff edge. If you haven't tried this trick before and you're doing a natural themed island, I highly recommend it. So you can see how I've kind of carved out a very specific shape with the cliff, and then I dig out the water in front of it, and it allows you to plant the tree on the very edge of the cliff, and then you can kind of delete the cliff later. I feel like it made such a tremendous difference in this particular build because it allows the trees to be a little bit less like symmetrical and even, and just a little bit more full. So I use that more than I think I ever have with any builds before, but I do think that the impact made it worth it in the end. And then right now I'm just building up another layer of cliff here. I think this is going to be the last cliff layer that I am going to add in. I wanted it to be pretty close to the trees in front of it, and we'll end up covering some of the cliff up a little bit with vines later, but this is what's gonna give it like a little bit more of an overgrown feel, I hope. Honestly, this part of the build took me so long, just kind of planning out where I wanted trees to go, and stunting trees and just all of that stuff, so I did want to leave that into this speed build. But I'd love to hear if you guys are interested in me sharing more of the terraforming process in the future, or if you are just kind of looking to see the actual item placement and that's kind of part of decorating. I'm always interested in hearing what's going to be most helpful to you guys, but I did go ahead and dig up the trees in the front just to place this stunted tree on the cliff behind it. I do feel like it was worth it in the end. It was a little bit tedious, and it was like one of those moments where I'm like, is this really necessary for me to spend my time doing this? But I do feel like I said before, it really helps it to feel a little bit more full in the end. I was also trying to pay attention to the placement of cedar versus hardwood trees. I wanted them to be a little bit staggered, and I didn't want to place like too many of the same type of tree in one clump. So I was thinking about a lot of different things as I was planning out the beginning part of this build. I feel like it was a little bit more challenging for me because I have just finished my European island, which if you haven't seen that tour yet, definitely go and check it out. I'll go ahead and link it above for you. But that was definitely different in pretty much every way from this build. So it was a little bit weird to go back to a natural style of decorating, but really, really fun. Forest core, or I guess cottage core, are my favorite styles to decorate in, so it did feel really nice to kind of go back to my preferred style. But yeah, I don't know. It's just fun to be able to jump around and decorate in lots of different styles, I think. But since I dug up those trees, I did have to do the whole process again, but I guess this is a really good tutorial for how to plant trees on the edge of a cliff. So if you're interested in giving that a try, definitely do. I definitely think that it's worth it. Oh my gosh, it wouldn't be a video unless Beans had at least one squeaker toy in it. I'm so sorry. So because we're just not done planting trees yet, I wanted to line this back of the cliff with trees so that it just finishes off the very, very overgrown feel that we're going for. And it's also going to kind of encapsulate where Totoro is going to be sleeping. So I did want this area to feel very full and very lush. So I'm playing around with different levels of trees, like different, I guess, different levels of stuntedness. I don't know how to describe it, but it was a little bit challenging to figure out how to stagger them and make sure that there weren't a ton of gaps while also allowing for space for actual items, because I didn't want this to just be like trees and flowers and bushes. So it was a little bit of a challenge kind of planning out how that was going to go. And then one thing that I was kind of considering as well with this area is the view from the front. So I wanted it to be like very, very overgrown, and I wanted the overgrown feel to extend in the front of the build as well. But the issue with that is that it tends to just cover up everything that you've decorated. So it was a little bit challenging to kind of figure out how to fill in that area, but you'll see how I do that in the very end. And I feel like it turns out really well where it's not kind of covering up the focal point of the build. But that's definitely something to consider if you're doing a more natural or foresty island, is planting the very short trees in the front so that you're not covering up your build. I think it really, really helps for the picture afterwards. And of course, you don't have to build your island to take beautiful pictures of it, but if that's something that you're interested in doing, I definitely think planting very, very tiny trees in the front helps a ton. My next order of business was figuring out how to make the areas in between the trees feel very overgrown and lush and kind of untouched. So I kind of got stuck on that. I decided to use the mush partition, but I figured that I would just lay down the focal point of the build, which is this gorgeous Totoro custom design, which I am seriously obsessed with. It's just so, so well done and well worth the 6 custom design slots that it takes up. Probably going to incorporate another kind of sleeping Totoro later as well, but I wanted to include like a little leaf umbrella to kind of shield him as he's sleeping, and I just think that he looks so cute in the center there. Every time I find more of these Ghibli codes, I just get so stinking excited. I just think they're so cool. But now I'm just going to place a few vines here or there just to continue to give this area a more overgrown feel. I didn't want to go too overboard with the vines. I just kind of wanted them to peek out just to kind of give it a little bit more of a natural feel. I love the addition of the vines. I think that they are seriously incredible for an island like this. They make such a big difference. And then now I'm just going to start incorporating some more rocks. The tall garden rock was such a good item for this build because it really fills up the space in between trees so well. And then I wanted to incorporate some bushes and custom designs and just like typical things that I always use when I'm trying to fill in natural spots. I also wanted to incorporate some blue hyacinths in this area. I didn't plant too many of them, but I thought that a little pop of color could be really cute and kind of whimsical in this area. I didn't want to go too overboard with any of the decorations around Totoro because I didn't want it to kind of distract from him because he is the main focal point. And then I'm just going to kind of dot this very natural grass path back here as well. I am obsessed with this path. I know it doesn't look like much right now because it blends in with the grass so well, but I love the way it looks once you add a preset on any photos of your island. It just looks so natural and mossy, and it's beautiful on the beach as well. So if you're looking for kind of a seaweedy looking path to add on your beaches, that one is incredibly perfect for that. And then I also have this very whimsical little custom design. It's kind of swampy a little, but I love the little red and yellow and white kind of mushroom items that are peeking out in that path. I don't know why it took me this long into the build to realize that weeds existed in the game, but seriously, this area calls for them because I feel like once they grow a little bit, it's gonna give it that overgrown feel even more. So I start to put them all around the Totoro now, and then I incorporate another butterfly over into this area that's kind of bringing in the green tones. I also remembered that I had this umbrella design of the little baby Totoro. I just think they look so cute in this area. It really kind of ties in the whole theme. And here I am just adding in some more kind of baby trees in the front area to kind of fill in and kind of make it look like a little clearing in the woods. This was so challenging. This front part of the build was harder than anything else. I feel like the rest of it just had a really natural flow, and I wasn't really thinking too much as I was decorating, but figuring out how to connect it to the entrance and how to kind of make this look like a clearing was so challenging for me. I don't know what it was about this build, but so far we pretty much have the heart of the build done, and now I just wanted to add in some more details on the cliffs to kind of give it a little bit more character. I wanted to incorporate this raccoon figurine because I just think it's so charming and cute. I have never used that item before, but I think it's perfect for a Ghibli island. There's just something about it that just screams Studio Ghibli to me. And then these tall lanterns as well, just kind of peeking out in the trees. I feel like it gives it a very abandoned kind of feel. Chester was also super excited about this build. He was walking around pretty much the entire time. I did not expect to think he was as cute as I think he is. I feel like I said that in a really weird way, but hopefully you know what I mean. When I was looking at the picture of him, I was like, oh, he looks like a little bit creepy maybe, but he's actually such a cute little bear, and I like him so much, especially for this theme. But I've gone ahead and skipped just a tiny bit. You can see that I've placed that natural grass path just kind of winding through, and I love how natural and kind of soft this looks. It just gives it a little bit more texture and dimension and kind of visual interest, which I absolutely love. I do want to mention that all of the codes that I'm using here on this island are now uploaded on my card, which is linked in the description box below. These codes would be perfect for any natural island that you're working on, and you don't have to be doing a Studio Ghibli island to incorporate them, so definitely check those out if you're interested in using them on your island. I try to keep that updated every time I post a speed build with whatever codes I used in that build, so there aren't a ton of codes in right now, but as I continue to work on this island, I will add the ones that I did end up actually using. I tend to download a ton of codes but not actually use all of them, so I try to only upload the ones that I've actively used on my island. And then there ended up being this really awkward space by the beach here, and I wanted to kind of fill this in and just kind of make a cluster of natural items, and I feel like it ended up looking really convincing. It kind of continued that overgrown foresty feel towards the beach, which I really loved. And then the rest of this is this beast of cliff up here, which was such a struggle. Oh my goodness. I felt like I was just randomly placing items and I had no idea if they were going to look good or not. I'm just kind of throwing stuff down and trying to make it look kind of random and varied without looking too kind of cohesive, I guess. And then I ended up blocking myself in, and it was just a whole kind of ridiculous process, honestly. I thought about cutting this part of the build out because I wasn't sure if it would be interesting at all, but if you struggle with decorating your cliffs, maybe this can be helpful for you. I do feel like just adding in lots of natural items and some bug models and kind of varying where you're placing flowers and kind of making it so that certain colors aren't right next to each other, I think helps so much to kind of make this not look as matchy, I guess. I don't know the right way to say it. But I did want to incorporate a lot of rocks as well, which I think helps the overall texture so much. So if you are getting stuck on your cliffs, hopefully that will help you just a little bit. I also didn't want to distract from the center, so I went ahead and used a stunted tree in the center of the build as well. And then I'm incorporating another little Totoro umbrella here. That design is just chef's kiss. I love it so much. And yeah, I feel like I'm talking way too much in this speed build. You guys will have to let me know if you like these chattier speed builds, or if you would prefer that I just kind of let you vibe with the music for some of them. This particular build ended up being way longer than they usually are, and I think it's probably just because there was just so much natural area to fill in, and so many, so much terraforming, so many trees, all of that business. So I would love to hear from you guys, though. I will not be offended if you would prefer that I just kind of let you listen to some music and chill instead of listening to me rant for however long this video is. But if you're still hanging out with me, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your support and friendship, and it's just so much fun to be able to make islands together. It's seriously the best. If you are a Studio Ghibli fan and you would like me to incorporate any specific scenes from any of the movies, definitely let me know in the comments below, because I have a few things in mind, but my heart is not necessarily set on, the whole island. Like, I don't have the whole island planned out or anything. So if there's something that you guys are really wanting me to see, or even just like a Japanese themed build in general, definitely let me know in the comments and I will try to incorporate it on this island. So far, we've really only done the first sort of 2 builds, so we definitely have a lot more to do. At this point, I realized I have these rocks that I think look so good in natural builds, and I completely and totally forgot about them. So I start to kind of throw them into this build a little bit more, even though you probably are not going to see anything up here. I just feel like it's a little added texture, I guess. And the tall lantern, I think, kind of gives it some dimension as well. And that's pretty much the end of the cliffs, thank goodness. As I'm looking at this wide camera, I realized that I also did not talk about my modded Switch. So this island is on my modded Switch, and so I do have a wide angle camera, which is why the edges of the camera look a little bit funny at times. So I'm so sorry if that bothers you. I would be really interested to hear from you guys. If you have an opinion about whether or not you'd like me to turn that camera off for speed builds, definitely let me know as well if that's something that you'd like me to do. But yeah, this is a Switch running custom firmware. I use it to have our treasure island for channel members, as well as make this island. So nothing about the island is modded though, meaning you can do all of these things on your Switch without custom firmware. So I'm not doing any tips or tricks or anything like that that you couldn't do on your island. It just has a wider camera, which I think is really nice for doing these kind of bigger sort of builds. I was going to finish it there, but then I decided to actually decorate some of the beach, which is really weird for me because I typically hate decorating beaches, but I was feeling really inspired by the natural kind of landscape here, and I was really wanting to kind of incorporate the beach in this build and kind of make it blend in and kind of continue on. So I really wanted to use lots of rocks here. You can see that that grass path looks incredible on the beach. It just gives it such a gorgeous, like overgrown kind of feel. And I don't know, there's just something about the color that they used on that path that just looks incredible. But yeah, that is pretty much going to wrap up this build, and I'll let you enjoy a little montage here at the end. Alright, that is going to wrap up this build. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this little forest for Totoro. I do want to thank the members of the Fox Fam and the Fox Paws for supporting my work here on this channel. You can also support the channel by liking and subscribing and hitting that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when I upload. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!